You know, I don't even know what the point is of doing a review of an NXT TakeOver special anymore. It's like, I'm going to say it's good. I think we're up to what, 16, 17 of these things now? And every single one of them has been at least good, or better. None of them have been average or below average. Like, even the lower end specials were pretty good and at least worth my time. I didn't regret watching them. So you gotta admire NXT for their consistency in putting on entertaining shows, and this show was once again no exception. Really good show from top to bottom. I'm sure that's going to be the general consensus. I haven't heard or I haven't seen any of the other reviews or read anything, but I'm pretty sure most people that saw the show liked it. It was a pretty well put together, entertaining show from top to bottom. So with that, I guess I'll just get started and just go through the whole thing. We had the opening match, Andrade Cien Almas versus Johnny Gargano. Almas got the win, which legitimately kind of surprised me, which makes me think it's like, okay, this feud's probably going to continue because Ciampa's not going to be back for a while, so might as well give Gargano something to do. Easily the best match I've ever seen Almas have. He was, and I've said it before, he's much better as a heel than he was as a face. As a face, I just couldn't stand watching him, but I think he's clicking much better as a heel. So, yeah, I thought they had a very good, action-packed, killer opener. There's not a whole lot else to say other than that. I just thought they really started off the show strong. Very hot, very exciting stuff, and kudos to both guys. And it's nice to see Gargano transitioning. I mean, he's been a singles worker, most of his career, but it's nice to see that the NXT/WWE fans are willing to accept him as a single star so easily. So that's really good. So, second match was Authors of Pain versus Sanity, a match that I was chomping at the bits to see, because it's like, oh yeah, it's two bruiser tag teams beating the fuck out of each other. I want to see that, and I got that. It was pretty crazy and chaotic from bell to bell, with lots of brawling, lots of hard-hitting stuff. Some creative stuff, too. I thought their little twist on the Tower of Doom spot was really interesting. With you think they're going to do the Tower of Doom spot, but Nikki Cross holds on to one of the AOP's members' legs. Holds on to Eric Young's legs, who was on top of the Tower of Doom. And the Authors of Pain guy ends up powerbombing his own partner. So I thought that spot was pretty well designed. And the Tower of Doom is one of those spots that kind of got old. To me, it was one of those things that was cool the first couple of times I saw it, but then after a while it just kind of became like, it looks kind of overly staged. Kind of like the dog pile spot, where, if you have a cruiserweight match or a tag team match or anything like that, you got to do the spot where everybody dives onto the pile one at a time, and that spot I got totally sick of. But the Tower of Doom, it was nice to see like a little twist on it to make it more interesting. Through sheer numbers, basically a 4-on-2 match, Sanity ended up winning the NXT tag titles, our first title change of the night, which wasn't unexpected. I felt like Sanity is something that they've invested some time into, and I thought, okay, they'll probably want to put the straps on them. I believe this is the Authors of Pain first loss ever, so it really... See, this is why, and Deluxeman did a whole thing about it, and... I'm definitely more along what he was talking about and of his opinion on the matter. It's situations like this and like in the main event where, or even the women's title match where there was no title change. This is why you don't have champions lose non-title matches, why you don't have them lose frequently in like tag matches or anything like that, and why you don't give away those pairings on TV prior to the big special or the big title match. So that when they do lose the title, it actually does feel like kind of a big deal. And Authors of Pain weren't like a record-setting title reign or anything like that. They weren't the Ascension in that regard, but they'd been unbeaten for quite a while ever since they got there, so them finally losing felt like, oh my god, something happened! Something big and something I had never seen before had happened on this show. I saw the Authors of Pain lose, and they lost the tag titles. Holy shit! Something of note, something noteworthy fucking happened on the show. And it was the second match on the show. And that's where booking can really make things stronger and make those title changes stronger and make this shit actually mean something in the long run. And that's the advantage that NXT has over the main roster, where they just book their shows more smartly, and I don't understand why the main roster... It must be just the sheer volume of content between Raw and SmackDown, where they just burn through everything so quickly, just desperately trying to fill those 5 hours of TV time. But Jesus Christ, I mean, it's like night and day. My biggest laugh of the night, Corey Graves actually said on commentary at one point, "This is why I missed NXT." And I'm like, yeah, I don't think that he was told to say that. I think that was a shoot comment. I think he legitimately misses being on NXT and having to call that bore fest called Monday Night Raw every week. But, I mean, the commentators, we all rag on them, but I typically feel bad for them. It's like, look, they're the ones that have to go out there and try and sell this shit to us, and... I kind of feel bad for them in a way, but yeah, I thought the tag title match was good, and the big surprise was Bobby Fish and Kyle O'Reilly coming up post-match and beating up the newly crowned champions. Red Dragon united in NXT. Bobby Fish and Kyle O'Reilly had made their NXT debuts on recent episodes, but they debuted as singles guys, and once I think Bobby Fish came out first. And then a few weeks passed, and then Kyle O'Reilly had his match, and immediately my brain was like, well, I mean, they got to put Red Dragon together. I mean, you got to do that. And to be perfectly honest, I think they work better as a team anyway than they do as single stars. I think Kyle O'Reilly is the better single star of the two. He did have that amazing match with Kushida, the best of the Super Juniors. But I think they just gel better as a team. I think their work is better as a team. I think, I just think they work better as a team. So I think putting Red Dragon together in NXT, I think is a very good thing. So I'm excited about it. I'm really excited about it. It's like, oh god, the tag team division. They've got the Authors of Pain, who are these unbeatable brutes. They've got the crazy post-apocalyptic lunatics, Insanity, and now they got the world-class athletes with all the indie cred in the world. Fucking Red Dragon in the tag division. I'm like, you lose DIY, you lose the Revival, but now you got Red Dragon. I'm like, I mean, that's how you keep something like NXT fresh, because you're always going to be in this cycle of losing talent because guys get moved up to the main roster, but you just got to keep it. You got to have somebody to backfill and somebody to take places once somebody's gone. I talk about it with New Japan all the time, with Naito and Kenny Omega having to basically take the places of Shinsuke Nakamura and AJ Styles when they left, and they did beautifully. And I think Red Dragon are going to be a great fit in the NXT tag team division. I look forward to seeing what they do. So next up was Hideo Itami versus Aleister Black. Good match, a lot of heavy striking. I think it was probably the least impressive match on the show. But I think it was a good showing for Itami, especially now that he's like fully embracing the heel turn. I thought the finish was really cool, where Aleister Black hit the Black Mass out of nowhere. That was really neat, and I thought pretty well designed. So yeah, solid match, good win for Black. He continues to move up the rankings and continues to... I mean, he's another one that's undefeated. So many guys on this program are like unbeaten and undefeated. Some of them lost for the first time tonight, and it's like, man... Amazing how that happens when, you just give guys wins on TV and don't have them lose all the time, and how much more important they seem. We always talk about how certain guys kind of flop when they go to the main roster from NXT, Bayley being the most recent example, and a lot of it has to do with the booking. A lot of it has to do with how they're presented. And what is that? Okay, I think that's just my fan. Never mind. Okay. But yeah, if the booking isn't supporting these guys, they could be the most talented people in the world. It's not going to work. Booking can destroy anybody. And that's an unfortunate truth. Sometimes the talent can only do so much. I've seen so many talented actors in dog shit movies, and they just couldn't save it. Like, there's only so much you can do when the material sucks. And that's why NXT is like, again, it's like night and day compared to what goes on Raw or SmackDown, where hardly anybody feels special. Like, even, they've made me sick of seeing, I'm not sick of seeing him, but they've made me bored of seeing AJ Styles versus Kevin Owens, because they've done the match too many times. and I'm just bored with the pairing. And those are two guys that are very talented, that are very highly regarded by a lot of fans, and not a lot of people seem interested in their matches, and it's because they've done it too many damn times. But we got one more tomorrow night at SummerSlam, so huzzah! But anyway, I thought Tommy and Black had a good match, and I was glad that Black got the win. So good stuff. Good stuff there. Next up was the women's title match, Asuka versus Ember Moon. I thought this match was very good. Probably the best women's match since Bayley Asuka in Dallas. It's been a while since we've had like a really true blue show-stealing women's match at a TakeOver special. And that's not a reflection of Asuka. I think it was more a reflection of the Four Horsewomen. They all got moved up to the main roster at pretty much the same time, except for Bayley, and then she was kind of the last one. And when she moved up, it was kind of like, okay. I mean, Asuka and Mickie James I thought was pretty good. The only problem I had with that match was that there was no way in hell that Mickie was winning, so there wasn't a lot of drama there. I thought the three-way with Nikki Cross and Ruby Riott was okay. I thought the four-way match that they did was alright. But there's just not a lot of... they haven't had like the show-stealing matches that like Charlotte and Sasha was, or Sasha and Becky Lynch was, or Sasha versus Bayley at Brooklyn 1 2 years ago. So it was nice to see that type of match, and I thought this was very good. I was kind of on the edge of my seat because I was like, is this going to be the night? Is this going to be the night where Asuka loses? Is this where it's going to happen again? Asuka's been unbeaten, so when she does lose, it's going to be a big deal. And she ended up winning after like a kind of a crazy closing sequence where they were countering their finishers and everything. And Asuka even kicked out of the Eclipse, which was kind of surprising. So again, they protected that finisher and made it like the most devastating finisher in NXT. It makes those kickouts mean more when you book it all right. So yeah, I thought the match was very good. Asuka picked up the win, which I'm sure disappointed a lot of people, because I mean, this was the best opportunity to end it. I don't know who faces Asuka now, because it feels like she's beaten everybody. The only thing I can imagine is put Ember on like a road to redemption, similar to like Okada after he lost to Tanahashi at Wrestle Kingdom, or Kushida, or to use 2017 as an example, when Kushida lost the title to Takahashi, the IWGP Junior Heavyweight Championship, and had to put himself on a road to redemption, went through the best of the Super Juniors and everything. I don't know if the winner of the Mae Young Classic is going to end up facing Asuka. I don't know how this is all going to play. They may just move Asuka up to the main roster while she's still the NXT Women's Champion, and, let her kind of maybe win the Raw Women's title or the SmackDown Women's title while she's still the NXT Women's Champion. Just have her, or maybe even do a thing where she appears on all three shows and just nobody can beat her until it'll magically happen one day. I don't know. Plenty of things they can do. But again, I thought the match was very good. I really enjoyed it. It was, again, it was the best NXT women's match in a while. Nikki and Asuka had that really crazy hardcore match, what was that, like a month ago? I think that was pretty good, but I thought this was better, and obviously on a much bigger stage. So kudos both girls. I thought it was great, and this was kind of a star-making performance for Ember Moon, because the first match that these two had, again, it was good. It was not great, and I thought I still think Ember has some rough edges. Her promos aren't that great, but this was her first like really strong in-ring performance, and she did really well. So yeah, very good match here. Very happy with it. Then we got the main event, Drew McIntyre versus Bobby Roode. Thought the match was pretty good. Not a show-stealing match of the year type of match, but I thought it was a pretty good match. I thought kind of a good old-school style type of stuff. I thought for sure Roode was going to win when he was going into that triple DDT sequence at the end. And I was like, okay, he's going to win. And then out of nowhere, McIntyre hits a headbutt and the Claymore and gets the win. So Drew McIntyre is now the NXT champion, which tells me it's like, okay, Roode's probably going up to the main roster pretty soon. But that was not the end of the show. The end of the show was Red Dragon coming out again, but this time with Adam Cole, baby! Coming in, they beat the crap out of Drew McIntyre, and Adam Cole holds the NXT championship. So now in this show, not only did you get a bunch of really good matches, but now you've got this new heel stable set up, Red Dragon and Adam Cole, and they've set their sights on the tag team and the NXT World Title, and it's like, all right, I look forward to seeing what you deliver next, NXT. I'm legitimately excited. This is looking good. Very cool ending. We had heard that Adam Cole had signed with WWE, but there was no word that he was going to appear. He was going to appear tonight, so it was definitely a nice surprise. Very well done. Very smart of them to debut Red Dragon as a team, I should say. They'd already debuted them on NXT, but debuting them and Adam Cole in front of the Brooklyn crowd, which is going to be a little bit more like in the know and a little bit smarter, and they're going to know who these guys are. So I think very, very smart debuting them in front of that crowd, because they knew exactly who they were, and they popped big time for them. So all of that was very cool and very awesome to see. So you got some strong matches, you got some cool moments. NXT TakeOver, top to bottom, very solid. Loved it. I wouldn't say any of the matches are like match of the year contenders or anything for me. Like, they're probably not going to crack my top 10 or anything, but I thought all of them did their job well enough. All of them were at least ranged from good to great, and top to bottom, the show, there were no lulls. The show just kind of was good all the way through. It was just a really good show. So, now WWE has to follow that up with SummerSlam tomorrow night, which I have an idea. I do have an idea of what I'm going to do for my SummerSlam review video. I'm not going to say what it is, but I've got an idea, and I think it could be interesting, or it could be boring as hell. I'm not sure yet. We won't find out until I actually do it. But so yeah, we've got SummerSlam tomorrow night. So I guess I'll talk about some updates heading into SummerSlam. Sasha Banks has officially been confirmed as the number one contender to face Alexa Bliss. That's fine, I guess. What else happened? Dean Ambrose and Seth Rollins will have officially reunited as the not quite Shield, but almost Shield. And they will be taking on Cesaro and Sheamus for the Raw tag titles. That's fine. I mean, at least there was like some kind of a storyline involved there that wasn't stupid. So, I wouldn't be surprised if Dean turned heel, which would probably be beneficial for him in the long run. But again, this tag title match is one of the better setup matches on the show, so I'll give him credit for that. But everything else, I'm just kind of like, Baron Corbin also lost his Money in the Bank this week. That was hilarious. Kind of a weird decision. I mean, there's already speculation that Corbin's being punished for something, like jumping off the handle and getting into it with Dave Meltzer on Twitter or whatever, and he's being taught a lesson for that. I'm trying to muster the energy to really care, to be honest. But it does feel like a waste of the briefcase. It's like, okay, why'd you give it to him if you weren't going to do anything with it? So, the Money in the Bank was a complete and utter waste this year. Kind of like when Sandow had it, and they just had him. They had him attack an injured John Cena, and he still lost. And then you wonder why Damian Sandow didn't have much fanfare. Again, the booking can really fuck you over. To me, if you're gonna screw somebody out of the briefcase, it should be like, it should happen to a babyface, and you put heat on a heel, and then use that to build a program. Doing it to a heel just doesn't. I don't know. It just doesn't work. It just feels like a waste of the briefcase, because it's not going to put heat on the heel. It doesn't service him at all. It takes heat away from him because it makes him look like a chump. But anyway, so there's that. Still don't care about SummerSlam, but whatever. I will talk about some other things that happened this week. Some things that I watched. Namely New Japan's G1 Climax Finals, Lucha Underground's Cueto Cup Semifinals, and TNA Destination X. I guess I'll start with the G1 Climax. I thought it finished very strongly. I thought some of the matches towards the end were great. Minoru Suzuki and Kazuchika Okada had a great match that went to a time limit draw. And the two finals of the A block and the B block, the two final matches, Hiroshi Tanahashi versus Tetsuya Naito and Kenny Omega versus Kazuchika Okada Part 3, both were very good. Great, outstanding matches. I do kind of feel bad for Naito and Tanahashi because you look at the matches they've had this year. They had a great match at Wrestle Kingdom. They had an even better match at Dominion. And they had a very good match in the G1 Climax with Naito getting the win over Tanahashi. And I'm like, if these matches were held in any other promotion, they would be considered amazing. But these matches have always been in the shadow of the Okada-Omega matches, which are, like, groundbreakingly amazing. And, like, on another planet, like, another, like, completely different level in how good they are. So people kind of forget about the Tanahashi-Naito matches, but they've been great, too. A very solid trilogy of matches, and I thought they tore it down once again here. I had a great match, Naito getting the win, and then we got Okada versus Omega 3, which I was completely down for. I was like, oh yeah, after their first two, I'm totally down for this. And this match was also great because it was completely different from their other two. Their other two went long, like the 46-minute one and the hour-long draw at Dominion. This one, it's like, all right, we've got a half-hour time limit because that's what all the G1 Climax matches have. And we've also played the long game with each other. We got to go balls out now. And so the pacing of this one was a lot more like fast-paced and breakneck speed and them trying to get an early win and all that other stuff. But also this time around it was different because Okada was broken down. He'd had all those big main events, including the two with Omega. The one was Suzuki, the one was Shibata, who made his return, by the way, so it's good to see Shibata again. Nice to see him back. There was some fear there that he might be done, but it looks like Shibata might be coming back, which is good to see. He had the match with Bad Luck Fale. He had all these killer matches in the G1 Climax. He eventually suffered an injury against Evil, and then had the time limit draw in a brutal match with Suzuki. So by the time Okada got to this third match with Omega, he was broken down, and he was injured, he was hurt, and Omega took advantage of it, was finally able to hit the One-Winged Angel and put Okada away, and get that big win over Okada, setting him up for the finals. And then the final match, we got Omega versus Naito. Now, one of my criticisms of last year's G1 Climax finals was that it was Omega versus Goto. And I said, there is no way in holy hell that Goto is beating Omega. And if he did, it would be a mistake. Because Omega is just way more red hot than him right now. It's just not even a question. No knock on Goto. I'm not knocking him. I'm just saying it's like Omega's up here and shouldn't be losing to Goto. And he needed that big win and should be the one heading into Wrestle Kingdom, getting the title shot, and he did, of course. But the problem with that is that it kind of lacks in drama because you don't have somebody on Omega's level to face him. It's like, so once Omega won his part of, once he won his block, I kind of knew, it's like, well, Omega's going to win. I mean, there's no way he's not, and sure enough, he did. This year, you've got Omega, who's been killing it all year long and just waiting for another opportunity to get back into the title picture, finally overcame Okada to put himself in position to get into the finals of the G1 Climax. And on the other side, you got Naito, another guy who avenged his loss to Tanahashi at Dominion, overcame his big rival, and now he set himself up in the G1 Climax, a place that he's wanted to get back to for a while now. So it's like, yeah, I could see either one of these guys winning, and neither one would be a bad decision. I thought the match was a lot more interesting because of that, a lot more dramatic. There were some scary parts, like Naito trying to pile drive Omega through a table, but they kind of slipped and kind of fell to the concrete floor where the steel barricade was, and that was a very scary spot where I was like, that could have gone a lot worse than it did. And that was fairly early in the match, too. There was another spot that scared me where Omega, they were both on the top rope, like at the top turnbuckle, and Omega like DDT'd Naito into the ring post, and that looked dangerous as shit. Like Naito could have easily like gotten seriously hurt there. Fortunately, it looked like everything was okay. But after various reversals and finisher kickouts or whatever, Naito gets the win, wins the G1 Climax. and sets himself up pretty big. It looks like he's probably going to main event Wrestle Kingdom this year, so I'm completely fine with that. And like I said, these two guys, these are the guys that deserve to be in the finals based on the great work that they've done and what they've been asked to do to fill the shoes of the guys that they had to replace. These two guys have done outstanding work and absolutely deserve to be there. So my hats off to both of them, and Naito totally deserves getting this spot. Now, speaking of Wrestle Kingdom, one idea that I've been toying around with as far as the rest of the year goes, since I am not watching Raw or SmackDown, at least for the time being, I got some time to fill, so you know what I'm going to do? I am going to go and I'm going to watch the first 8 Wrestle Kingdoms, which I've never seen before. I started with 9, and I've watched every year since, but I didn't watch the first 8. I didn't watch it, I've seen some of like the earlier Tokyo Dome shows, but we're talking strictly about the Wrestle Kingdom ones. All the January 4th Tokyo Dome events, like Wrestle Kingdom, that's become, that's the current one, so, and that's the name that they've kind of stuck with, so, I haven't seen the first 8. I've seen parts of some of them. I saw, the TNA matches when they did their Global Impact specials, like, Angle and, Yuji Nagata, that match, and Team 3D versus, I think it was Togi Makabe and, Toru Yano, if I'm not mistaken. I remember Abyss had a match with Nakanishi. I think, didn't the Machine Guns have a match with No Limit at one of them? Again, it's like, I saw them, but it was so long ago, like, my memory's a little fuzzy. So, I've seen bits and pieces of other Wrestle Kingdoms. I've also seen Okada versus Tanahashi from 7. I believe it was 7. Yeah, it was 7. I've seen that match. But other than that, I've not seen the other 8 Wrestle Kingdoms from top to bottom. But, you know what? I'm going to have some extra time on my hands. I'm going to go ahead and watch me the first 8 Wrestle Kingdoms. I'm going to review them on my channel. It is like a kind of road to Wrestle Kingdom type of thing that I'm going to do. So, I'll do that. Because why not? And I've already reviewed 9, 10, and 11, so you can just go back and watch my previous videos and look at that. So, New Japan's really got me excited right now, if you can't tell. So, I'm really happy with it. So, moving on from there, let's move into Lucha Underground, which had the semifinals of the Cueto Cup this week. I thought Phoenix and Prince Puma had a really good match, very action-packed match to set up Puma heading into the finals. I kind of knew Puma was going to win because it looks like Phoenix is feuding with Marty the Moth Martinez, and that's going to be his match at Ultimate Lucha, so that was fairly obvious that Puma was going to win, but I thought they had a really good match regardless. We did get Pentagon versus Mil Muertes for the first time ever one-on-one, so I was super excited for that. But they did in these great cinematic sequences. They've got Katrina hunting down Cage and the magic gauntlet that he currently has. And as retaliation, Cage went after Mil Muertes and injured him before the match. So the Pentagon-Muertes match wasn't so much an epic showdown as it was Pentagon being able to take advantage of an injured Mil Muertes to get the win. So they didn't really go balls to the walls with it like I was hoping. It served the story, and I'm totally down for doing Muertes versus Cage. I want to see that match like nobody's business. I'm super stoked that one's happening. But because like we'd never seen Pentagon versus Muertes one-on-one before, I was a little disappointed that it played out the way it did. That was more a match to service the storyline rather than just kind of embracing the awesomeness of getting Pentagon versus Muertes one-on-one for the first time. But again, it serviced the story, so I can't fault him for that too much. But I was a little disappointed that the match turned out the way it did. But what wasn't disappointing was the final segment, which was the final hype job for Mundo versus Mysterio for the title next week. I'm super excited for that match. And we got a great segment here where it started with Rey and Mundo, but then the Worldwide Underground came down to help Mundo beat up Rey. But then various baby faces like the Mac and Sexy Star and El Dragon Azteca came down to even the odds for Rey. But then Pentagon and Prince Puma came down because they're going to be in the finals of the Cueto Cup next week. So they came down and started brawling. Then Muertes came down because he's pissed at Pentagon. And he came down, and then Cage came down, and they started brawling. And then a bunch of other shit happened. I think Donde Fox came out to watch. And then Killshot was like, you know what? I fucking hate that guy, so I'm going to go after him now. So they started brawling. Jeremiah Crane came out at one point. You had the Rabbit Tribe coming out. And they were sitting on top of Dario Cueto's office watching all the madness go down and commenting on it. Taya started brawling with Sexy Star, and they've been feuding. So it was like this wild locker room brawl. All of it with all these like storylines and feuds heading into Ultima Lucha Trace, and it's like, yeah, that type of stuff is cool when you have all those feuds established and you do something like that. Like the locker room brawl is something that shouldn't be done all the time, but when it is done and it's done right, it's very, very cool. And I thought Lucha did a great job with it. It was a great ending to the show, and it got me even more excited for the finals of the Cueto Cup. We've got Pentagon versus Prince Puma, and we've got Mundo versus Rey for the title, which they've been building up forever. So I'm totally not missing next week's Lucha Underground. It's like, I don't care if like the hottest woman on the planet offered me the greatest sex of my life. I probably would not. I would probably pass that up in favor of watching Lucha Underground next week. That's how excited I am for Mysterio and Mundo because of how well they built it up. I was only half joking with that comment, by the way. But anyway, yeah, so Lucha Underground, still happy with it. Still really excited to see what they do, especially heading into Ultima Lucha Trace, because it looks like we're going to get... we're getting Phoenix and Marty, which, yes, that's probably going to be like a, Max versus something match, because Marty seems interested in ripping Phoenix's mask off. We're getting Muertes versus Cage. Yes. We're getting Sexy Star versus Taya, which I'm fine with. I guess Katrina versus Ivelisse is still happening. I know Ivelisse got injured, but I would imagine... Because they did film the segment where they made the match official, so I'm thinking it's like, okay, she probably came back in time to do that match, because they wouldn't have aired that segment if they didn't have the match taped for Ultima Lucha, so... But we'll see. That's something we'll have to wait and see. We're probably going to have the Gift of the Gods Championship. They're doing it right now. The Rabbit Tribe earned the first 3 medallions. We're probably going to get Matanza versus El Dragon Azteca. Probably going to get Pentagon versus... It's probably going to be whoever wins the Cueto Cup versus whoever wins the Mundo Rey match, and then the 2 losers facing each other. So, a lot of possibilities. Oh, we're also getting Killshot versus Dante Fox, which, yes, totally down for that. So, yeah, we've got a couple of great things for Lucha Underground, and then more stuff to look forward to as we head into Ultima Lucha Trace. So, huzzah. And with that, I'll head into Destination X, GFW's latest, big special show. I thought the show kind of fell flat, to be perfectly honest. I thought a lot of the matches kind of fell flat. They do way too much outside interference. It's one of the... I'm not against outside interference, but when you do it all the time, it becomes annoying. And there's a right time and a right place for it. Right time, no Moss match, Marty the Moth interfering, and the mat coming out to even the odds. Perfectly well done. WrestleMania 8, Mr. Perfect interfering on Flair's behalf, perfectly well done. That was perfectly acceptable, but when you do it all the time, it just becomes annoying and like a fucking circus show trope. And there was way too much of that going on the show. Couple of big returns. Taryn Terrell came back, which not a bad addition to the women's roster. She was an interesting one though, where she had these amazing matches with Gail Kim, but with nobody else. It was strange. Her other matches with everybody else were kind of okay, but then when she worked with Gail Kim, the matches were, not just, good for her, but, legitimately, incredible matches. So, I don't know what, what it is. I could say that Gail carried her, but at the same time, it's these matches are too good to be one person carrying another. It's I don't know what it is. It's just she works with Gail and the light just goes off, or they just have that good of chemistry. I don't know, but we'll see. I wouldn't object to another one if they're able to still put on that level of match again. Petey Williams came back and interfered in the X Division title match. I guess that's fine. It's weird that we're getting all these guys that Petey's back and Sanjay's back and Low-Key's back. All these guys that kind of got fucked over by the booking a decade ago are now coming back and being treated like big stars, which is odd, to say the least. Also, Johnny Mundo, John Morrison, or now as he's being known in GFW, Johnny Impact, will be making his debut with the company, which doesn't Not a good sign for Lucha Underground and the potential of a season 4, but I had it explained to me that GFW apparently has a working relationship with AAA, and Morrison, Mundo, Impact, Nitro, whatever you want to call him, works with AAA, so that's how he's able to work for GFW as well. But again, it's not a good sign for season 4, but at the same time, I feel like we're having this annual discussion with Lucha Underground. It's like, are they going to die or are they coming back? I don't know. So, again, fingers crossed. I hope we get season 4. I won't comment on any further on it until we actually know something more concrete. But, so that happened. Also, probably the most noteworthy thing that happened on the show, Jim Cornette came back, which Jim Cornette working for this company again. I mean, granted, he worked for it when they were TNA, but is something I wouldn't have expected. It looks like he's going to be the new authority figure, and he said a couple of things that were like, wow, he really kind of threw Alberto El Patron under the bus, because that was kind of the whole crux of the segment, was they were going to decide what to do with the GFW World title now that Alberto's been stripped of the belt. And Cornette made a comment that it's like, we're not going to give this championship to guys that were big stars somewhere else and coming in and just having a vacation. We're not going to give it to guys who don't know how to conduct themselves as champion when, inside and outside of the ring. It's like, shit. It's like, damn, okay. I just want to say Alberto was cleared of all charges. I'm just saying. That's, I know the situation with Page was not ideal, but he was cleared. So it's, give the guy the benefit of the doubt. But, so they've set up a 20-man gauntlet for next week, with the winner becoming the new GFW champion. What else happened on the show? Low Key has been set up as the 20th spot, which probably means he's not going to win. But I don't really know who's going to win. I think it was taped. I could read the spoilers. So actually, you know what? I did read the spoilers. I completely forgot I read the spoilers for that. Okay. Yes, I do know who the new GFW champion is, but I'll comment on it next week. I'm not going to spoil it. I don't feel like talking about it. But yes, I do know who the new GFW champion is. So that's GFW right now. It looks like this episode kind of felt like a reboot again, and I feel like they've had 3 or 4 of those this year, but they're just trying to find some direction, some footing. But it's not that they have bad talents, it's not that their ideas aren't that bad, it's just that there's just no life to anything that they do. There's no excitement. They're not doing anything that's legitimately interesting or exciting. And it doesn't help that, constantly booking outside interference and all that other stuff just kind of cheapens it considerably. But, we also got Lashley versus Matt Sydal in the main event, which was, again, it was an okay match. It wasn't anything that great. American Top Team attacked the referee post-match when Sydal won, but I don't know if anything's going to happen with that or what. But yeah, that's pretty much it with GFW. Kind of a lackluster show, unfortunately. But okay, we'll see. Now that they've got Bruce Pritchard out as an on-screen character, but the way they did it makes me think he's just going to come back at some point. But Cornette's an on-screen character. I don't know if that's going to drastically change how the show's presented. Who knows? We'll just have to wait and see. But definitely the most lackluster show I watched this week was Destination X. I would say Raw or SmackDown, but I didn't watch Raw or SmackDown. So how bad is that I've said, okay, Raw, SmackDown, fuck you, I'm done. GFW, I can watch that. how bad is that? That sounds really terrible, but anyway, so that's pretty much all I have to comment on as far as the wrestling shows go. One thing I do want to touch up on, I do want to send my best wishes and my thoughts and prayers to the Nature Boy Ric Flair, who had emergency surgery earlier this week. It sounded very serious when the news broke. Sounds like the surgery went well and that he's resting, but there's a long road to recovery ahead for him. I don't know all the details. All I know is that it sounded very serious. So, with all the wrestling legends that we've lost in recent years, Dusty, Piper, Savage, these aren't just run-of-the-mill past stars here. These are icons of wrestling that we've lost. To lose the Nature Boy would have been kind of a heartbreaker. Like, it would have been a huge heartbreaker. So, glad to see it appears the surgery went well, and I wish Rick speedy recovery, and I give him my best thoughts, best wishes, my thoughts and prayers. Because, he's the Nature Boy, and we gotta love him, right? So, yeah, that's all I have for you now. Again, NXT TakeOver, very good show, really great. SummerSlam, not excited for it, but again, I've got an idea of how I'm gonna tackle the review of SummerSlam, so I'm excited to actually do that and see if it actually works, and if it's even gonna be something that entertains you guys. But that is all I have for you now. Y'all have a good night, and I'll see you later.